Hallelujah. Thank you, Lucas. All right, so let's get started. I don't want to make this teaching too long. It's a lot of things that we already know, but it's always good to go over them, right? For us to find our way back to what Yah is talking about. There's a reason why the Most High has us go in cycles. Okay, the cycles of the Most High have to do with us not understanding his ways, right? And so every time we go around, we find out something new and something different. And that's important. You know, last week we talked about Zadra'at, right? Talking about how people receive this infection by the Most High. We talked about Thazria, which was talking about the conception, on how a woman would have a child and so forth and so on. And we learned about that. And we learned all the different causes of Zadra'at. This week we're learning about Ha Mazora. Okay. Last year they were combined together. This year they're separate, right? So sometimes it's combined together because there's only two chapters. Like this week's chapters were only chapters number 14 and 15. Chapters number 14 and 15 primarily deal with the idea of how to cleanse the individual who has received a supernatural touch from the Most High Yah. Because that's what Zadra'at is. It's a touch from Yah. It's Yah disciplining his people, right? And it's also, too, something that's used in order to bring us to a place of isolation and give us time to think about what has happened to us and why the things has happened. So today we're going to talk about Ha Matzorah. When I was doing Ha Matzorah, you know, one of the scriptures that popped in my mind was the one that mentions that, you know, there's a purpose behind everything, right? So at the end of our Torah portion, we find that the Most High said, in this way you will separate the people of Israel from their uncleanness, so that they will not die in a state of uncleanness for defiling my tabernacle, which is there with them. Whenever you read your Torah, I want you to always remember that the end is going to tell you what everything is about. It's like Yah summarizes everything in one statement. So here is his summary statement to say, hey, look, the reason why I'm asking you to go through these processes is simply because I don't want the people to die. Okay, so death is what the Most High is concerned with. He doesn't want the people to die, right? Just like he doesn't want the wicked person to die, right? So the Torah portion, Ha Matzorah, has to do with deliverance from death. And in your Haftarah, it dealt with famine. It dealt with death. It dealt with several things. It dealt with 4 individuals that had Zara'ah and went outside the camp. And the things that they were concerned with is whether or not they were going to die. Whether or not if we stay here in outside the city gates, we're going to die. If we go into the city because there's a great famine, we're going to die there. If we go to the army of the the Aramean army or the Syrian army, we might die, but we might live. So it's always a possibility of death, and there's always the possibility of life. And that's what we're trying to find. And that's what the Most High is talking and communicating to us about, is the difference between life and death. Everything is about life and it's about death with him. Okay. That's why the animals are killed, but yet another one is set free. The bird is killed, but then the other one is set free. And so we're going to talk about that life and death, because that's what this is about. And it's about not defiling, or what they would call tameh, bringing uncleanness to Yah's home, okay, where he actually resides, where he lives among the children of Israel. So you might ask yourself, well, we're not in that situation right now. So does this apply? Where there are things about this Torah portion that you and I are going to extrapolate from to find a way to start thinking more about how Yah thinks, okay? He wants us to know how he thinks, right? Or what his desire is and what it is. So in the Torah, it said, Yahweh said to Moshe, there is to be the Torah. Okay, they say law, but it's the Torah concerning person afflicted with Zadra'at on the day of his purification. He's to be brought to the Kohen, and the Kohen is to go outside the camp and examine him there. And if he sees that the Zadra'at sores have been healed in the afflicted person, then the Kohen will order that the two living birds or clean birds be taken for one to be purified along with the cedar wood, the scarlet yarn, and the hyssop leaves. Last week we talked about the hyssop, the azov, and we talked about that, which has to do with harvesting. Today I want to deal with, I could deal with a lot of different things. I could deal with the Kohen, right? But we've dealt with that. We know that they're the foundation of the community. We know that he's the one who has to examine the person because he's doing it on behalf of the Most High. We understand these things. We understand the process of the 7 days. But there are other little things that we don't know about. And one of the things that we don't know, okay, all right, you may know, but I didn't know, that has to do with cedar wood. And what's the significance of the cedar wood? Okay. So what we'll do is we're going to look at what the root meaning of the cedar wood is. What is the foundational meaning of cedar wood, and why is it important for the Most High to say, why couldn't it have been any other wood? Why wasn't it shittim wood that he used to build the Ark of the Covenant with, or the table, or any of those things, or the altar? Why is it the cedar wood? Well, because the cedar wood has to do with being a root firmly for strong growth, meaning that this in particular tree is very, very strong. Okay. And what it needs is a very strong root system. It has to be very firm, right, in order for it to have strong growth. So if you don't have strong roots, you're not going to have strong growth, because if the root system is compromised, then of course, then the tree is not going to do well. So the Most High is using this in particular tree to talk about what he's looking for in the individual. What Yah is looking for, instead of death, listen to me, because the death in the person who has Zazarat, or the person who has been afflicted, is the one whose body is going through a process of decay. Remember, it talked about you have a live eating flesh wound. It's eating away, so it's destroying the body. So there's a death that's going on with the body. There's death going on to the tissue. Okay, so we look at it and say, well, it's just a breakout. It's just this, it's just that. No, it's deeper than that. It's on a supernatural level. It's from the perspective of the one who created the skin, who created the body, who created the bloodstream and the organs, the one who created these things, the one who actually created the infection. So he knows the damage that it's going to do. So the cedar wood has to do with being a root firmly for this strong growth. It also has to do with this idea of being focused, right? And being able to be decisive in the focus, meaning like I'm ready to make decisions, right? So the cedar wood is being used for the individual who has finally came to conclusion. After everything is said, they're focused. See, because it wasn't that the cedar wood is going to heal them. It wasn't that the hyssop was going to heal them. It wasn't that the water was going to heal them. It was being focused and saying, okay, I understand what it is. And now the Most High is saying, I now have healed them. I've given healing to the body. It wasn't a miracle. It was the Most High. It's not magical. It's the Most High. When he sees that a person is focused and they're ready to make a decision, and they're ready to take some course of action, and they got their minds made up, now we can go ahead and we can attach this, because the cedar wood was wrapped around the bird, the bird that they not the one that they've killed, but the one who was going to be made alive, that they're going to dip. Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, but there's a Hebraic root understanding that we want, right? And everything that we look at in our studies, a lot of people don't want to look at the Hebrew. They just want to go off of the English. And that's where we're missing the true understanding of what it means. Okay. So the cedar wood is very close to the Hebrew word for azov, but this is called erez. Okay. Erez. And erez comes from a root called raz. Right. So there's two letters that are being used. There's the resh and there's the zayin. Okay. And when we look at the resh and the zayin, when you put those two together, it has this idea of a core, because when they would take the cedar wood, the actual tree, they would strip off thin strips of cedar wood, thin strips all the time, right? Because when you wrap this in particular bird in it, you would wrap it with thin strips of cedar wood, and it's strong enough to make cords. So this is how they would make the cords from the cedar wood, little strips of cedar wood coming off the tree, okay? The cords are used for binding. Again, the Most High is letting us know that at one moment, the person that had the Zazarat and was going through this affliction, they were actually bound by that which was taking over them, meaning their greed, their jealousy, their slander. Okay, so often we think, well, all because I don't got handcuffs on, or because I'm not tied up physically, right, like this way, then it doesn't exist, and that's not true. The Most High is giving us a deeper understanding, that's saying that there's things in us that can actually hold you hostage. So the person that has Zazarat, or the person who's being afflicted in their body or in their head or in their face or in their skin, it's like they're going to prison. They're locked in and they can't get out. So Yah would give them a 7-day period, see if you're going to change your mind. They didn't change their mind. And not because they just said it, it's because they really, really wanted to change. They had a focus. So some people were able to get done in 7 days. Some people had to go 14 days. That's why he says after the second time, the first 7, you saw a hair, but you didn't, it didn't turn white yet, or it didn't turn yellow. Then go put them, isolate them again for another 7 days. It's like the Most High is giving a time frame to see what it is, whether or not we're going to listen to him, whether or not we're willing to change. So our binding is sometimes self-inflicted. Like these things would not happen to a person if they were willing to change their ways and change their mind. So we're the cause of our own binding. That's the reason why we're in exile right now. It's because of the mindset that we've had, the way that we think, our behaviors. So we're the ones who lock ourselves down. Okay. And the Most High is used Zazarat in the community that he's at to whoop them. I'm striking you with the nega. I'm going to put it on you. I'm going to bind you. I'm going to tie you up. I'm going to put you in isolation. That's prison. You're going in exile, because that's what isolation is. It's exile. So for us, those are in exile right now, you and I are literally had been bound. Okay. And it's because of our actions and those of our ancestors. You can't forget about your ancestors. The Torah talks about what this Kohen is supposed to do, right? Because this is about purification. The representative of Yah, I want you to remember that. The Kohen is just a representative of Yah. Okay? Because a man can't be in front of Yah. Yah can't see Yah, because if he sees Yah, then he's going to die. So the Most High set the Kohen in place, right, to be his representatives, to handle these situations with uncleanness and teaching them about the diet, handling controversies, dealing with adultery, dealing with this, dealing with a whole bunch of different things. So whatever you read about the Kohen, Yah's telling you what he's going to do, because they're only receiving instructions from the Most High. So if it said that if the Kohen had a daughter who was being promiscuous, you're supposed to take her and set her on fire. Yah's letting you know what he's going to do, because the Kohen is Kadosh. So Yah's telling you, giving you the principle, if I'm Kadosh, they're Kadosh. If they handle this way, they're handling based on how I'm going to handle things. You see? So the reason why you and I right now don't have a Kohen right now is simply because there's really no need for a Kohen. Because you and I right now haven't been healed, and we're in isolation. Okay. So the process here is to order one of the birds, because the person's supposed to grab two birds, and they're supposed to be clean birds. And I looked in there, it's like clean birds. And I was like, well, what other kind of bird could it be? Could it be, one of the birds is listed as a clean bird? No, it literally talked about in another place where it either had to be 2 pigeons or 2 turtle doves. Okay. That's what it had to be, 2 yonas or 2 thorems. And so again, we know that has to do with monogamy and Yah having be one with us and have a relationship, this one type of relationship, monogamous, meaning I'm not interested in a whole bunch of others. Yes, Ken.
Yeah, and I was confused because it says two turtle doves and 2 young doves. and then he took one of each. Well, what happened to the other two?
Well, no, it's taking two, right? And then you're gonna take one for a sin offering and the other one for a burnt offering. So you may want to read that. I don't know if you're reading what version you're reading in English, but if you look at it in the Hebrew, it specifically says there's only two birds. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so that's why he says you're gonna take one of the birds, okay? And you're gonna slaughter it in a clay pot, right? Over running water. Now, somebody tell me, what do you think or understand running water to be?
Fresh water?
Okay, good. Fresh water. Fresh water is living water. So we're not talking about just water
Right.
that's coming out of, okay, it's living water, right? Living water is waters that are coming out of a river, okay, or waters that are coming out, yeah, or the sea, right? So living water, that's the kind of water that he's talking about, all right? So, these people out here that these people out here that are calling, I saw one of my friends, he's a Christian. He was baptizing somebody in a Doughboy swimming plastic water that he got out from water that he got from somewhere, but it's not running. It's just stale. It's stale water. But anyway, the idea here is that the Kohen is going to take one of these birds and he's going to slaughter them in a clay pot. Okay. Over the running water, the living water, right? So here's this, check this out. We want to deal with this pot. Okay. Just an easy word that you and I would just go right over. So in this, what I have here in English, the Kohen is to order one of the birds slaughtered in the clay pot over the running water. This is saying that right here in the Hebrew, okay? But it doesn't say that. It says that and commands the priest to kill the Hatzipor, one of the birds, the Ha'akath, one of them, into this clay pot. And a clay pot right here is the keli. Let me put it right here for you. I want to talk about the pot. Okay, very important to talk about this pot. The pot right here is called a keli. Okay, a keli. And a keli, and it says a keli of keres. Keres is a pottery that's made out of some type of clay. Okay, and it says, I want you to do that upon the waters of the Kayim. Okay, that right there is Kai. And then Yim, Kayim. The word Kai right there is life. Okay, and the Yim has to do with water. Kayim. All right. So well, that's a trip. So the water is the Mayim, and the Kayim is the plurality of lives. So I want the waters of lives. That's what I want, right? So again, we see that the Most High is concerned with life. And that can be found in the Mayim, right? So I want that, but I also want this pot. I want this pot right here, this keli. So if I take that keli, I'm going to kill that bird right over the keli. And it's the bird is going to be a living bird. Okay. It's not going to be a dead one yet. I'm going to take it and I want to do it. So we're going to be talking about that pot. Okay. Of course I could spell the word in a different way. You can spell keli in all different types of ways. And in Hebrew translation, it could be, a different way. It could be like a K, just a K and an L and an E. It could have been a K, a L, and an I. It could be any of those things. Those are called transliterations. But I wanted you to remember this very simply by remembering the name Keli. Okay. The word Keli means to be a pot. Okay. And we want to talk about this pot because we're going to find out how it is connected to us. Okay. So the first letter of that word Keli, and make Keli your friend. This is how I remember Hebrew words. I make them people. I have a brother named Kelly. So I always say Kelly, and I already know that he's a pot. Right? So I look at him like, okay. So the first letter of that is a palm, right? And so, we understand that. And you can see that by the shape of the letter. And the next one is the staff. That's a lamed. right? And so we have the palm staff, right? And then the last one is the hand, a yod. So when you put all that together, what you have here is the Most High is saying that my hand tames. Okay. My hand tames. The my right here is the yod. Yes. The hand right here. Okay, that could be the hand too, right here. Okay, the tame is the lament. So what this is that, remember, never forget the Yah is a shepherd. Okay. What else is he? Yah was my shepherd. I shall not want. What else is he? What other titles does he have?
Authority.
He's authority. So he's a king. He's a judge. What else is he?
Father.
Hmm. What?
Father.
There you go. He's a father. And there's the other things that he's called. Okay. So in his idea of taming, because he needs to tame, anything that Yah is going to use has to be tamed. Okay. And you say, well, how do you tame a pot? Right here, he's talking about taming you as a person, right? Or an animal, because he's a shepherd. And when the shepherd's staff is in the hand of the shepherd, he's talking about his sheep, but also too, there's other things that disconnected. Kelly is a vessel. So whether they call it in English a pot, okay, it's a vessel. There's a reason why the Most High is saying to pour that living water into this vessel, right? So it's a vessel. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Yisrael, because Yisrael is a vessel, okay? And it's a nation that has to be developed, and it's a nation that has to be shaped, and it's a nation that has to be formed. Its character needs to be changed, okay? This word came to Yirmiyahu from Yahweh, get up and go down to the potter's house. Yah is a potter. There I will tell you more. So I went down to the house of the potter, and there he was. He was working at the wheels. Whenever a pot he made came out imperfect, the potter took the clay and made another pot with it, and whatever shape suited him. Then the word of Yahweh came to me, house of Israel. See, the word of Yahweh came to me to tell Israel this, house of Yisrael, can't I deal with you as the potter deals with his clay? Says Yohewah. Look, you, house of Yisrael, are the same in my hand as the clay in the potter's hand. So he sends Yirmiyahu down there just to make some visual observations. Visual observation is to gain knowledge. So the Most High wanted him to see with his own eyes what was happening. And he didn't go down there for just, 10 or 15 minutes. He went down there to make observations and to gather information, because the Most High wanted to tell him something. He wanted him to have an idea about when he did say what he wanted to say. See? So for example, I'm sitting here, I could tell you all day that Yah is a potter. Okay. But until you go watch a video and show how it's made, you won't have the real full understanding. You won't. But here's the point. Whenever he would make a pot, and we know that pot, what's the name for the pot in Hebrew? What's your friend's name?
Kelly.
Your friend's name is Kelly. Whenever he made Kelly, and Kelly came out imperfect, the potter, he would take the clay and he would make another Kelly with it, and whatever shape suited him. Because why? Because Israel is the same in Yah's hand as the clay in the potter's hand. So Yah's letting us know that whatever I intend on doing, I'm going to do with you. Okay? And he's more specifically talking about the nation of Israel, but that's collectively, but individually, it starts with the individual, then we become a nation. Remember, he said, I'll start over with you, Moshe, to make a whole nation out of you. See, so all of us are active participants in the growth and development of our nation. So what the Most High is letting us know is that he's told Israel, he's already informed Israel. We're looking at the past, which is our future. That nation and that in particular generation was imperfect. They weren't suited the way that he wanted them to make. They came out a certain way, which he's talking about our ancestors. And so what did he do? What did the potter do? He said he just turned around and he actually destroyed it, and he took it and made another pot. He made another Kelly. And he's going to shape it what suits him. And so Yah says, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So what's going on with us is you and I are those vessels. We're the vessels, not listen to me carefully. And I'll speak for us because we're the ones online. And we're underneath the sound of Yah's teaching here. You and I are the ones that are being made again. Yah was not satisfied with the one that came out before. He didn't like it. So he said, I'm going to do something different with it. And it's his right to do whatever he wants to do with it. Whatever Yah wants to do in our lives, everyone, he's going to do it. I've been saying this. If Yah's not satisfied the way that you and I are coming out, it's his right to do whatever he wants to do with you. For me, like I said, I had a hard time. Why would you make me disabled? Why would you take away, I used to be a bodybuilder. Why would you bring me down to 160, 75 pounds? Why? I used to be 205 or 210. Why would you do that to me? Why would you take away, my businesses, my multi-million-dollar businesses? Why would you allow that to happen to me? Why would you, break me, right? Why would you allow me to be, from a single parent home, grow up poor and all that? Why did you allow me to go through these different situations? Why are you allowing me right now to go through what I'm going through? And there's not a scripture here that I could put up. He says, what right does the clay say to the potter, what hast thou made? That's in Isaiah 45. You and I don't have a right to ask Yah about why he's doing what he's doing. You don't have a right because you're the clay. You're in his hand. The clay cannot talk to the potter and say, make me this way. He's talking to me and he's talking to you. Make me this way because I want to be this. Well, what if I don't want you to be that? What if I want you to be this? So there's no back and forth. There's no negotiating between you and me and the Most High. And we're going to convince him to be something other than what his intention is. You see, it's like a father that has rights over his children and says that this is the way you're going to go. And they're saying, no, I don't want to go that way. I want to go my own way. And then when the father says it to the son that I'm not satisfied, this is what I want. This is what you're supposed to be. And you're not that. So I'm disappointed. The father has a right to be disappointed. The son can't ask the father, what makest thou? The Most High said that too in Isaiah. It's like or a child coming out of the baby, out of the womb of a mother and say, why did you make me a girl? Transgender situation. Why am I a boy? You don't have a right to say that. There's just some things that you and I don't have no rights in because we're created beings. We're the clay, folks. The Most High told us from the beginning that I made you from the dust of the ground. You're in my hands. And I'll shape your life the way that I want to shape it. I'll move you wherever I want you to go. I'll send you wherever I want. I'll bring whatever I want to bring on you. I'll test you whatever way I want to, like I did to Abraham. I'll let you go barren, like Sarah. You don't think they had questions? Rivka did. Rachel did. She questioned Yaakov, why am I not pregnant? Why are you talking to me? I don't have the power that Yah has. You see? We have to be careful because you and I are vessels that are made for Yah. And whatever he decides is what he decides. And that, me personally, that's been a hard thing for me. That's been one of my toughest things. You know, I might say, yeah, I've overcome some things. I might say, yeah, I understand some things, but it's been tough because I've always wanted to be something other than what the Most High wanted me to be. That's just what it is. We have to accept what Yah says. That's my point. Okay. And Yah's doing something in us that he didn't do with these other ones. He's not satisfied with the previous generation. So he decided to make a new generation of Israelites. And here we are today. When Yah would use a clay pot in the service of the tabernacle, anytime something was boiled in it or cooked, it had to be broken. It had to be broken, right? But if it was in a bronze pot or a vessel, it would be scoured and rinsed with water. I asked myself the question, why? Why is it that the clay had to be broken and the bronze can actually be cleaned out? Well, in my discovery, I found out the clay holds a lot of impurities. It absorbs impurities. It's porous. And it can absorb. Okay. So the Most High doesn't want something that holds impurities to absorb holiness. Okay. Again, holiness and to be set apart is very, it's very different than what you and I understand. Okay. So this clay has a lot of impurities. And even after it goes through these processes of being kilned and all this, it still is able to absorb impurities. Okay. Just like you and I. So when we talk about impurity, because that's what this is about, because remember, it talks about the clay. Okay. It has impurities in it. And that's a big deal in chapter 14 and chapter number 15, more specifically in 15, it talks about these impurities. So all of us are like someone that's unclean, right? Not just talking about, the people that are on their menstrual cycle or somebody had a seminal emission. This is Isaiah talking to all of us are like someone unclean. All of us. All our righteous deeds like menstrual rags. They're covered in blood, right? That's going from day to day to day to day and haven't been changed because we're bleeding, right? We're impurities are coming out. We wither, all of us. So if these ideas right here, this uncleanness, these menstrual rags, these withering like leaves, has to do with death. And all of our misdeeds blow us away like the wind. So once we fall off a tree, we're like leaves. We're just withering away, right? And then we fall on the ground and then the wind just takes us away because we don't have any sustaining life in us. Okay. So leaves do fall off trees, but there's a season in which it's supposed to, right? But he's saying this is what we've been the whole time, right? And if you look in chapter number 26 of Isaiah, it talks about we're supposed to be the salvation for the world, and we didn't bring forth what we're supposed to bring forth. And I say we because we're part of the house of Israel. When you talk about we, you are talking about your ancestors. Don't try to separate yourself from them. Let Yah do the separating. You and I right now, he talks to us like as if he's talking to them. You're the children of those evildoers. All the evil that you've ever learned has been from those people. And all of a sudden, you're going to try to disassociate yourself now that, you found out you're from the Torah. So no, you are connected to them. We are, okay? This impurity in the Hebrew is called tameh. Tameh. Like Tammy. No. If anybody named Tammy, don't get mad at me. Call this one here Tameh, like Tammy, right? That's another friend that you have. So you got Kelly, and then you got Tameh. So Tameh is uncleanness, right? And the Tameh was used all through chapters number 12 all the way to chapter number 15 right now. That's what we've been talking about. And I want to give you a little bit more understanding about Tameh. Okay, so we're going to talk about her. Okay, such is the Torah for the person. Okay, this is the soul who has a discharge. For the man who has a seminal emission that makes him unclean, Tameh, and for the woman in Anita during her menstrual period for the person, man or woman with a discharge, and for the man who has sexual relations with a woman who is unclean. So there's a Torah, there's a prescription in which the Most High has instructed the children of Israel to follow because they're living among him. And so he knows that I made you. I know the men they have semen, and I know the women have menstrual cycles. Okay. And we want to talk a little bit about that. So uncleanness here is dealing both Tameh, right? She's dealing with both male and female. Okay. So it's not only just the physical part of a person, right? But it's actually the spiritual part of a person, the nefesh of the person, the soul of the person. You can't separate one from the other, right? So we're talking about male and female. When the male and female, they have certain parts of them that, you know, the Most High is talking about this discharge, okay? Which is some type of fluid or some type of, you know, something that has to do with fluid, right? Because that's what a discharge is. It could be pus, it could be, you know, it could be oozing blood, it could be any of those things, okay? Some type of viral type of thing. But here it is, the man and the woman have, you know, either semen or the ovum. The ovum are the eggs of a woman and the blood. So then you got to ask yourself, okay, well, if semen is unclean, then how is it used to be able to produce a baby, right? Or how is, if an ovum is unclean, right? These eggs are unclean, then how is it possible that he'll use the semen to fertilize the ovum, the eggs, right? And what does this all have to do with? Well, the semen that comes from a man, right, has, give him a proper color here. The semen has life. It's the seed. It's life. It's living. Okay. In the Hebrew, it looks like this. Okay. That's the semen. Okay. It's seed. It's life. Okay. So it has the life potential. It has the life force. The egg has life. It has life in it. Okay. So when the egg is traveling, it travels through the blood. When a woman is having her menstrual cycle for 7 days, what's happening is these ovums are being released through her bloodstream. Okay. Because, you know, it says for us that blood has life in it, right? So you don't supposed to eat the blood. But here, this discharge or this flow of this fluid that's coming out has life in it. Okay. Now that it's coming out, right? If it's living, once it comes out, it goes through a process of death because it hasn't brought forth life. See, you see? So Yas, remember I told you, he's talking about life or death. That's why he says that if they come to my tabernacle and they're unclean, they got death on them. That's what discharge is. So whether it's semen or whether it's the eggs of a woman, it went from a living state to a death state. Okay. When you talk about the semen, the moment that oxygen hits the sperm cells or the semen, it dies. It has not accomplished what it's supposed to do to go and fertilize the egg. So that's when it dies. So if a man had a seminal emission, he had a wet dream, or he had sexual intercourse, and a discharge came out, and it didn't produce any life, it's death. So what we're understanding is the Most High doesn't want death around him. Because why? Why doesn't the Most High want death around him? Not only because it's unclean, but what is death? Why you don't want death around him? It's because Yah is life. And Yah is living. And this is what he's been saying to us. I'm the living Elohim. And the gods that you guys have served they don't even exist. They're nothings. They don't even live. Remember, as he says all the time, as I liveth. He makes promises based upon him living. He wanted us to know that he's the living Elohim. Why do you think he always mentions I see, I hear, when I speak? Why? Why does he say those things to us? He's telling us that I'm alive. I want you to have an awareness about me. When you look outside, you see nothing but living. You experience it every day. You breathe the air, you eat the food. You know what I'm saying? When you eat the fruits and the vegetables, those are living things until they rot away and they die. Would you eat a dead fruit? Would you eat a rotten apple? Huh? No, you won't. You only want to eat that which is living. You see? So Yah is letting us know through this that, hey, I don't want death around me. It's uncleanness. Okay, so your uncleanness is a form of death. That's why he calls it abominations and disgusting. And this is why Isaiah said that, the way that you guys, the way that we're living right now, it's been for nothing. That's why he associated with withering leaves. And he says the menstrual, and he says this, and he said, it's all about life and death. That's what this is about. That's why people are so willing to become a Christian, because they get an automatic guarantee that they're going to have life. They want to live. So they'll take that, irregardless to it being true or not. Everybody has a desire to live. They even call themselves to say that they have the Spirit of the Most High in them while they're in their uncleanness. Speaking of uncleanness, I'll get to that in a second. Uncleanness is, or Tameh, your little friend, the little nasty one, can be transmitted through contact. Okay? It can be contact through the body, the clothing, and the furnishings. So if someone had a seminal emission and he was unclean and he went out and he touched somebody, they became unclean. Think about this. I'm not trying to shame us. I'm not trying to make us feel bad. I'm just trying to tell us the reality between the difference between Yah and the difference between where you and I are at right now. How many people don't know about these laws? How many people that touch you and you shake their hand and you don't know where they hand been? How many people are having sexual intercourse and don't bathe their bodies immediately after? How many people that have menstrual cycles and they're sitting in restaurants and movie theaters and you're sitting in the same chair? I'm laughing because we're dumb. Excuse me, as a people. We're stupid. Like the Most High said, you guys are foolish. You guys really don't understand the difference between clean and unclean. That's why you need a priest to tell us these things. He's telling us, you guys are in an unclean land. And yes, your hands are tied. I tied your hands so you can understand where you're at. So you can receive this through bodies. You can receive this through clothing. You can receive this through furnishings. You sit on something that was unclean. You get it through contact. So you're receiving uncleanness, which is a form of death, through these things. If the person with the discharge touches a clay pot, it must be broken. Not broken, smashed. Okay. If he touches a wooden utensil, it must be rinsed with water. See? So these things right here, these are Yah's ways. What does he know about the wooden utensil versus the clay? Is it based upon density? What is it? Why the clay gets broken and the wood doesn't? Yah has very specific instructions that he wanted them to follow because he's talking about being set apart. This is just a reminder that we're not. Okay. Whoever touches his bed is to wash his clothes. Whoever touched somebody's bed, that person was unclean, they got to wash his clothes and bathe himself in water. That doesn't happen out here. He will be unclean until evening. Until. Whoever sits on anything the person with discharge sat on is to wash his clothes and bathe his body in water, or bathe himself in water. He will be unclean until evening. Anyone who touches the body of a dead person, or the person with, anyone who touches, I'm thinking about something else. Anyone who touches the body of a person with the discharge is to wash his clothes and bathe himself in water. He will be unclean until the evening. I italicized until because until means in the Hebrew, let me write it up here, right here, is the letters an ayin and a dalet. Again, that's a witness. So you're going to be unclean until you witness the evening. Okay. That's what you got to witness. You got to witness the evening. And the evening is called, somebody tell me. Erev. Okay. Is there any connection between Erev and Erez? I don't know. I haven't looked at it. This just came to my mind. The evening is a mixture between light and darkness. Okay. That's what it is. That's what evening is. It's a mixture of light and darkness. Okay. So when you see the sky changing colors, that's when you know that it's evening. What this is saying is, I'm only going to give you uncleanness if you follow my instructions for an in particular time, okay, of that in particular day. Once I take you out of that day, you follow my instructions, and a mixture between light and darkness is basically called a transition. So what it is when you transition, Yah's talking, he's telling us, once you see the transition between the light going into darkness, then what you're doing now is you're going to come into that point. You're going to witness this. Once you see that, then you're going to be clean, because I want you to be clean for the following morning. So in the next day that you're in, I don't want you to be unclean if you follow my instructions, you see. So what can we learn from this? Right now, you and I are in a state of uncleanness. And right now, you and I have to transition out of it. And what's going to happen is, because there's two Arevs, there's not just one Arev, there's just not one evening. Okay? There's not, there's two.
Sunrise and sunset.
Yes. So one is the sunrise and the other one is the sunset. Yah always makes reference to him coming as the sun rises. But before that sun rises, you have to come to an Arev. You see? So you're going to transition out of your darkness into light. So let me clear it up right quick. Let me just do this real quick. So what Yah is saying to us is this. You have an Arev here, that's the sunset, and you have an Arev here, which is the sunset, and here's the sun rising, okay? And between these two in particular times right here, right, is night, is darkness, okay? You and I have been going through a time of darkness as a people, okay? That's what we've been doing. Once we come out of that darkness, we got to go through the Arev first, and then we'll come to the sunrise. Okay, this is the sunset. So Yah's letting us know right here is what your ancestors came to. And because they went unclean, ever since then, they never did what I told them to do. They remained in their uncleanness, and they're still in their uncleanness over time. But you're going to go through your Arev. You're transitioning. Arev means transition. So right now, you and I are transitioning out of darkness into light, because that's what night is. Night is darkness. Forgive me writing in this this color. Arev is not darkness. Arev is a transition. Darkness is in the night. So this is where we are right now. We're in darkness. We don't have the complete light of the Torah. What's going on with us is we're transitioning. We're going through time. All these are years and years and years and thousands of years. And then finally, we're starting to get a little glimpse. If you look on any chart, and you can look this up later on today, and you look on Google and you look up twilight hours, and they have different degrees of light that come up right before the sun rises. There's 6 degrees. It's called 6 degrees of separation. It goes to 6, to 12 to 18. Okay. So the Most High is letting us know that, listen, you're in a state of uncleanness right now, but it's only going to be for a little while. Okay. It's only going to be for a little while because there's 2 evenings. So we have to take care right now to understand that, hey, we're in a time of transition. So don't get discouraged. Yah is not going to leave you in that space. Okay. Forever. It's only until a certain time. What is it about this word Tameh? Where does she come from? The first letter is a tet. Okay. And the tet means mud or clay. Okay, remember we talked about the clay pot that's able to absorb the impurities? Well, it comes from this word, this letter. Okay, the tet means mud or clay, right? That's what it's made from. It's a container. Okay, they usually make bowls or baskets out of this clay. So when you look at the letter, right, you want to find, well, how would they associate a basket or a bowl with this? Let me show you right here. Change my color. If you look carefully at the letter, it has somewhere to go inside. So it's shaped like a basket that could be filled with something. You see? So when you see this letter, you might see it in a printed form like this. That's a block way. And then you also might see it like this. Okay. It's a basket. Okay. So you can see this is what they used to carry on their head. Remember? Put a little basket right there and they would carry the basket on their head as they were walking. Okay. And so the basket would contain different storage and supplies and all kind of stuff. And they would hold it on their head as they were walking. All right. So that's what this letter is. So it has to do with, its root has to do with clay and mud. And they would take that and form either a basket or a bowl of some type of container. Okay. So that's what the letter tet means. Okay. Or tate. So this is the first letter of Tameh. So Tameh has to do with mud, clay, basket, container, right? Something to hold. All right. The next letter of Tameh is a mem. And a mem, of course, is water. And water is what? It's some type of fluid. This fluid could be, and this is the importance of the language. A lot of people don't want to deal with this, but it's the truth. Your fluid can be either water. Give me another fluid.
Blood.
It could be blood. What other? Give me something else. It could be pus. It could be mucus, which is literally it could be any of those things. Okay. Your fluid can actually be your tears. Your tears are like water, correct? Am I right? There's your tears like water? Dawid said they are. Said that you put them in a bag and you hold them. All my tears are put in a container. Yah stores away my tears. He puts them in a container for me. That's interesting, right? The fluid right now is being contained in your body. Water is being contained in your body. Other phlegm is being contained in your body, all different types of fluids. So that's why Tameh is used for uncleanness when we talk about discharge, because it has to do with fluids. Because Tameh is a container of water or fluid. Okay. And so this is what uncleanness is. It has to do with some type of water, some type of fluid that's in a container, right? When we talk about water and inside of a container, that water can either be stagnant or it could be living. It could be actively moving. Stagnant water is the water that's not moving. Stagnant is the water that's just stale. It's not moving. I don't have a picture. I wanted to put one, but I couldn't find one that I really wanted. It's like having a riverbank that's clogged up with a whole bunch of stuff and it stops the flow of the river. And so everything else is just stagnant and the water starts turning like a murky green color and there's no movement. There's no flow. Okay. So there's no flow. So if there's no flow, right? Let me show you and try to describe it to you. If there's no flow, right? There's no flow. Flow stops because there's a whole bunch of right here, sticks and stuff like the water at that point is going to go brown. You see? And so it changes. This water right here is stagnant, it's not moving, it's flat because there's no flow. So when you look at, listen, praise be to the living Elohim. When you look at flow, flow is movement. That's why we can use the letter M for movement. Because the letter M comes from the idea of this, flow. So movement. When you have movement, you have life. When there is no movement and it's stagnant, that is death. So you can see the Yah still connecting us between life and death. And so this reaffirms what the Most High is talking about with Tameh, just who she is and what her root of her word, of her root to her, her word, her name, just the two letters, the Tet and the Mem. And the last letter is, of course, an Aleph, which is strong, right? So this stagnant water is death, it's dying. Things are dying, okay? So when I thought about this, I said, well, Yah, what are the things that you want us to talk about? What do you want us to understand about this stagnant, this lack of movement, this lack of life? This basically what it is I'm dealing with your character. So what's going on with us is when we talk about our self-development, we're talking about our character and we're talking about how do we improve ourselves, right? And are things moving in our life, or are we kind of just stagnant? We're just flat. When something becomes stagnant too, it becomes not only death, but it's very foul. It smells terrible, okay? So, and one of the things that I'll give an example for is a porta pot. It just popped in my head. You go to a porta pot at a baseball game or a football game or any of the little league baseball game or any place where you have a porta pot, they don't have that water stagnant. That's why it smells that way, right? So when you think about something that's moving and living and you go, it's fresh, like when you go to Yosemite or you go to a river, you don't smell all that, now when the water's flowing, you don't even smell anything. It's just so refreshing. But when you go to some place that doesn't have any movement and the water's just sitting there, then your life is literally like a porta pot, okay? So the self-development is something that Yah wants us to work on. He wants us to work on our abilities and work on our character and who we are as people, okay? And we become stagnant in that. We've given other attentions and energies to things that instead of ourselves. We kind of fall into patterns of not moving. And when you get into a pattern of not moving, you become stagnant and then you're going to lose life, okay? Like anything, right? So we can also be stagnant in relationships. A lot of us too are in relationships that have no movement. There's no flow, and flow means that there's life. There's no life. So what the relationships that we have with people that are not moving, they're just relationships. And of course, some are out of convenience and some for other reasons, right? But if the relationship is not moving and it's not flowing, there's not no ebb and flow, it's stagnant and it's dying, right? It happens in marriages. It happens in business relationships. It happens in family relationships. It happens in friendships. It happens all the time. So what the Most High is saying is that you can receive Tameh, not just in your body and not just from clothing, not just in your house. He's talking about within yourself, within the things that you have around you. So you're not only wearing clothes, you're not only living in a house, you're not only sitting on a couch. There's other things that are part of your life that Yah is interested in. And that's the thing that people don't want to talk about or they don't know about, right? So Yah's interested in how we live our lives. That's beautiful to me, is that he's really interested in how much life are we getting out of our lives. Are we just sitting back and getting older and withering, or are we letting relationships die? Are we not interested or invested into those things? Like we're not interested in ourselves, right? So it'll start with you, right? Of this lack of self-development, not trying to get educated on things, just being a victim. Or then it spills off from you, and then it goes into the relationships. Do you see how important this is to get down? Because you're in a community of people. And so you're not actively bringing life to a situation, you're actually bringing death to the situation. And you'll bring others with you, okay? Big deal. A lot of us are stagnant in health and fitness. I was so happy to hear the other day, one of my sisters told me that she was on her treadmill. I felt so guilty because I haven't been doing any exercise for the last couple of days. I don't know what's been going on with me. I've been doing a lot of stuff. I've been cutting the yard and all that, but I need to get back to my exercise regimen. Dr. Kavika and Dr. Yared are putting a presentation on. I don't know if they want to share with everybody. I think they said it's free. Everybody could go. I might even try to attend myself. It talks about the connection between the mind and the body, right? Well, here, there's a lot of stagnation when we talk about health and we're talking about fitness. So depends on what you're eating and what you're doing. Yah's concerned with your health. If he wasn't concerned with our health, he would have never given us a diet. If he wasn't concerned with our health, he would never tell us the difference between clean and unclean. He doesn't want you to get worms by eating pork. He doesn't want you anything to die of itself. He doesn't want you to, do certain things, right? He wants you to, when he gave to the children of Israel, they went to the land, they had a certain diet that they had, which is full of grains and barley and nuts and fruits and vegetables, all this sort of thing, okay? Fitness, huge. The children of Israel used to be out in the fields when they were obedient, and they would have to use their hands and their feet, and they'd have to tie sheaves together and do work. So it was about working, right? So we don't want to be stagnant in this vessel, okay? So your water is literally your life. It's how, what are you doing? That's the thing. What's in your water? You know what I'm saying? Is your water flowing, or is it stagnant? Are you stagnant in your health? Are you stagnant in your fitness? In conclusion, I want to talk about purity, which is just the opposite of your friend, Tameh. Tameh is, she's not good. But Tameh and Tahor, they share something together that, let's just call them twins. Okay. Tameh and Tahor. If you keep them together, you say there's a set of twins that one is dirty and the other one is unclean, the other one is pure. Okay. Tahor. Okay. So one is Ta-Meh and the other one is Tahor. Okay. So what is Tahor? Well, looking at it, they share the same thing. How could Tameh, the first letter of the T or the Tate, be a container for her, but not be a container for this one, Tahor? Okay. So let's call Tahor a boy. Or no, let's call it a female. Just call them twin sisters. Okay. So Tahor, she's a container too. That's why they're twins. They both have the tets. That's how I say it in my head. Okay. But Tahor has a different letter. Instead of it being water, to contain water, this is the head, right? The resh, right? That has to do with the head of a man. When you put that together, Tahor means the contained man. A contained man, not contained water, the contained man. Okay. The contained man is the contained person, because man consists of both male and female, right? Once a person becomes contained, okay, that means that they're ready. They have a readiness about themselves, right? So, for example, when we come to purity, when the Most High talks about bringing us home and purifying us, he's talking about then you're going to be ready. You're going to be ready to be the vessel that I need you to be. You're going to be ready for me to pour something into you where you can hold it. Because what I'm about to pour into you is going to be life, and it's going to be living. Just like I told you, you need to kill that bird and whatever and put it over living water. That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that I'm going to put something into you, but you have to be ready for it. You have to be able to contain it. Okay. A lot of us sometimes hold on to things that makes us Tameh. So you can flip between Tameh and Tahor. You got a choice to choose. You can hang out with Tameh or you can hang out with Tahor. I don't want to be with Tameh. I don't want to hang out with her, right? I don't, because she makes me feel a certain way. You see, she's stagnant, right? Tahor is different. Tahor is moving. Tahor is prepared. Tahor, she's ready. She's ready for service. She's ready to be filled. She's ready to be utilized. Okay. Because there's no leaks. There's no leaks. See? What Tameh is a discharge. There's a leak coming out of your body. See? The fluids are leaking. Tahor, there is no leaks because Tahor is contained. And this is what Yah is trying to bring us to. He's trying to bring us to containment, not to be contaminated, to be contained. Okay? I don't want you to be contaminated. I want you to be contained, but it's what's in you that I'm concerned with. So the contained man, the contained woman is the one that I'm looking for, the one with readiness and preparation, the one that does not have any leaks. Because if you're leaking, I can't use you. Because you're my vessel. What good is a leaky vessel to you? What good would it be if I had this beautiful glass right here and I'm drinking this water out of it and it had a hole in it? Every time I turn on, the water's just leaking, just coming out of it. It'd be vain. We don't need leaky vessels. You wouldn't use a leaky vessel. Why would you expect the Most High to use you if you're leaking? Why would he want something leaking to come to the tabernacle? Well, we don't have a tabernacle, so I can leak. No. You are leaking in some other areas right now, but the main leak that Yah is concerned with is what's inside of you. Right? Even if I had living water in you, I don't want that leaking because then it won't serve its purpose. Your vessel, whatever I decide to put inside of you, I don't want it to leak. Here's something right here to bring us to a better understanding. Okay. It says, has a nation ever exchanged its gods and theirs are not gods at all? This is found in Jeremiah chapter number 2. Yet my people have exchanged their glory for something without value. Be aghast at this, you heavens. When I first read that this morning, I was like, why is he talking to the heavens? He's talking to the heavens because he's giving them, they're in awe and they're in shock that this has happened. He says, shudder in absolute horror, meaning that it's time for you to respond to what I'm saying. And by the way, when he says Yahweh, this is not like in a present tense. This is a prophetic announcement. This is prophetic. So when that right there says Yahweh, that is a na'um, and that's a prophetic announcement. So prophetically, he's telling the heavens to get ready. You guys you should be shocked at this, and you're going to shudder. That means you're going to tremble in absolute horror. Why? Because of what I'm about to do. That's why he's talking to the heavens, because he's about to do something. And they're going to have to respond when he does it. See? So when complete destruction comes upon this earth, they're going to be the first to show you that it's here. That's why you know what I'm saying? Look up at the heavens because you're going to see it. Okay. For my people have committed two evils. Two things that Israel has done. They have abandoned me, the foundation of living water. Excuse me, the fountain. Excuse me, I said foundation. The fountain of living water. Yah is living water, meaning I'm going to provide for you the purity. I'm going to provide for you the life that you need. Okay? You've abandoned me. You don't want the living water. You don't want that. You don't want the teachings. You don't want the instructions. You don't want me constantly having a flow in your life to bring things to you. What you want to do is you want to stop this living water, and you've become stagnant. And when you became stagnant, well, instead of you getting the living water, they dug for themselves cisterns. With cisterns right there are vessels, broken cisterns that cannot hold water. If they're not holding water, they're leaking. Do you see? They're leaking. So they can't contain anything, right? This is talking about their gods. So instead of you coming to me, you've gone to their gods of all these other nations. Instead of you coming to me to have a life of living water, you've accepted the New Testament, where he tells you to come to him and he'll give you living water. You see? Because you've exchanged your God, your Elohim, your glory for the one who doesn't have any value. Who's the one who doesn't have any value? JC doesn't have any value. How has JC, the Christ, the one who calls himself the Son of the living God, how has he benefited you? How has he brought value to you? See, you've chosen him, and he's broken. He's not valuable. He doesn't hold any water for you. If you look at a life of a Christian, and I speak for myself, because I'm not their judge, Yah is. When I was a Christian, I adopted the broken cisterns of the nations. I exchanged the true living glory of Elohim without knowing. Remember, you could do things, you could do the Shigaga and don't even know that you did it, for that which is broken. I put my trust and hope in something that couldn't hold any water. When you look at the New Testament, it can't hold any water. My life didn't change. I was still doing the same things that I've always done. I had the same type of mindset. And I thought I was okay. I put my trust in something that was broken, and I didn't even recognize it. You see? So the Most High is letting us know that I am the fountain of living water. I'm going to bring you life. But you've abandoned me. That's the first crime. That's the first evil. The second one is that you dug for yourselves cisterns that are broken. That's the second one. See? And more specifically, in this particular text, when you go read it, so those of you who know the text form, it's like, well, he took it out of context, and he's applying to us. He's talking about how the children of Israel were going to the Egyptians and the Assyrians for their help. And their gods, the gods of the Egyptians, that he told them you should never go back to, the Assyrians were the same ones who were there. They couldn't help them. So case in point, you and I have been in nations and all around the world that we're choosing the gods of the nations that hold no value. They can't hold any water. They haven't been beneficial to us. They haven't caused us to live better lives. Some of you have seen a picture of me before I became a Hebrew Israelite, when I was 40 years old. I look 1,000 times better. My mind, I'm not stagnant any longer. I'm flowing. There's some ebbs and flows. I'm going. Things are getting better for me. I'm not so concerned about my body and what it looks like anymore. I'm concerned with my mind and what's inside of me. And I think that's where we need to be. You see? So that's what the Most High has been talking about. Don't be a broken cistern. I say Shabbat Shalom to all of you today. May the Most High grant you his mercy and his compassion. And he decides to change in the time that he has chosen our situation. May you be found worthy to be filled with that living water. May you continue to strive to live. That's what it is. You don't have to experience, look, we're all dying physically. Our vessels are getting older, but it doesn't mean that you sit back and do nothing. You got to keep moving. You got to keep learning. Don't be stagnant in your education. There's always, well, as long as you're on the face of this earth and you have a mind, you should use it to learn something. You know, enjoy your life. You know, when you're cooking, put on some music. You're preparing for the Shabbat, put on some music that you like. When you're studying the Torah, put on some music that you like. Today, eat your favorite foods, your favorite ice cream, the best wine, the best everything. Go all out. Celebrate this, because this is something that Yah has given to us as a gift. The people that are out in this world don't know Yah. You and I are coming to know Yah. See, and our hands are tied because we're in a place of uncleanness, and there's a lot of things that you can't avoid. But Yah's not telling us you're going to be unclean until the evening so you could be upset that you're still unclean. He's saying, I'm saying that to them because they're going to die being in my presence. I'm preparing you for when you do. If you decide to change your mind and you have a desire to want to be clean, Yah knows that. You want to be clean? Yes, I want to be clean. You want to come out of exile? Yes, I don't want to be in isolation anymore. I changed my mind. I made up my mind. I'm focused decisively that this is what I want. I want to be a vessel that Yah wants to use and that he wants. And all of us have to choose that on our own. Yah can't choose that for you. You got to choose it for yourselves. You got to choose whether or not you want to learn the Torah. You got to choose. You got to choose if you want to be healthy. You can choose what type of food you want to eat. You can choose what type of relationships you want to have. You can, if there's a relationship that's dying and it's stagnant, you make up your mind. Do I want this relationship to continue or don't want it to continue? I had to make some tough decisions this week. I'll close with this. I had to make some tough decisions. There's relationships in my life that are stagnant, and it's not just because of me. I'm always trying to make it work. You know, I'm always trying to, be there and trying to understand. If the other person is not there to make it happen either, you could forget it. You could forget it. Okay. So don't try to stay in relationships with people or places or things or items, and it's not serving you well. It's not giving back to you because this is the only life that you have. Live your life. Live. And that means everything around you should be living. The food. You don't want foods that are dead. Stuff that don't have no life, with preservatives and all this kind of stuff that's dead. You don't want that. You want living food. It's food that's actually alive. You see what I'm saying? Your fruits and your vegetables and all that kind of stuff, right? You want to drink good water, purified water, right? You want to filter that stuff. You don't want to be drinking tap water. You want to drink purified water. Make an effort. You could do whatever else you want to do. Make the investment into yourself if you love yourself, if you want to live. You see? So get rid of the relationships that are stagnant, or remove the things that you can if it's on you, or sit down and have a conversation. If it's on you and the person is not interested in what you're talking about, because you can't force people, move on. Dr. Ured knows this. Business relationships, people don't want to do what you ask them to do. Time to cut them off. That's it. Got to go. That's just what it is. You see? Child don't want to listen, don't want to obey. You know what you got to do. Are you saying you cut them off? Yeah. That's just what it is. Until they learn. That's you got to think about how, you guys, this is really deep. I was thinking yesterday, Yah is eternal, okay? And what we're involved in is supernatural. That's the reason why Yah is so hard on us. It's because the call for us is very, very high. It's high. This is a very high calling. Yeah, you can't save those who don't want to save themselves. It's the hardest lesson learned. Absolutely, Lucas. It's very difficult, okay? Because we're these people and Yah's calling us to live a certain way, you and I can't compromise. You can't bend. There's no bending with this. You got to accept it for face value. if it's orange, it's orange. Don't try to make it purple. That's just what it is. You can't make an eagle, right? You can't turn a duck into an eagle. A duck is always going to be a duck, and an eagle is always going to be an eagle. They're two different. So don't expect a duck, quack, quack, to soar like an eagle. It's never going to happen. See? So we have to accept the truth about what it is. And it's just what it is. And don't try to change their mind. Don't try to make them better. You're not interested in making other people better. What you're interested in is providing information that if they choose to make their lives better, they can, because ultimately it's their decision, and it's not right for you and I to come in and try to force them to do something. You can't do it. I speak for myself. I can't do it no more. I can't force my family. I can't force my brother, my sister, my son. I can't force these people. If they don't want this, because they don't understand it, they don't want to understand it. That's just what it is. They don't want to understand it because we do what we want to do, because that's what Yah says you can't do. You can do whatever you want to do. That's why he's put everything in our hands. This is your decision. When you come to your senses, I'll present. Yah says, I'm going to bring it to your attention. Here it is. You're the children of Israel. Now, what are you going to do with it? That's what Christians don't want. They don't want to be held responsible or accountable for their actions. They just want to just let the physical do whatever it wants to and blame that and have a soul that they said is set free, but their bodies are and their minds are still screwed up. But anyway, Shabbat Shalom to all of you. I thank you and I appreciate you. And may Yah bless you in your mind. Okay. Hallelujah. Praise the mighty Yah.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, you guys. You guys have a wonderful Shabbat.